today is Unit 1, Lesson 6. This is Wednesday's lesson for August 28th. Again, the big goal you're going towards in your entire unit is measuring and estimating lengths in standard units. Kids must be able to do this because today we start to add and compare. And so this major cluster that falls right beneath is going to become pretty big today. All right, so today we're going to measure first lengths, then compare lengths using centimeter, meters, and non-standard units. And so first step that kids are going to go after, big how key points, but first step is adding partial lengths of an object together to find the total length. So these are the broken lines. Being able to identify, step 1 is what is my total. Step 2 is actually what is my total again, because you have two separate lengths. So you already have step 1, step 2, and then comparing the lengths of an object to determine how much longer or shorter one object is than the other. That's step 3. And so inherently that's subtraction. We're not going to name that explicitly for kids right off the bat because we want them to be able to identify it if I know I'm using a tape diagram or a number bond or a one-to-one model, which kids should be moving away from. We want them to be able to compare by saying, I know this is greater, this is lesser, this is greater by blank amount of units, this is lesser by blank amount of units. Again, this is not a visual anchor, this is a game introduction, and so being able to have prepared for yourself a standing visual anchor. This is going to build off of your previous visual anchors, title on the top, broken line looks different, total equals after you measure and actually show the work you did, because otherwise they're gonna not do it. Total is, pretend like that's 8 and pretend like that's 7, and then we can call this line 1, line 2, and then identifying the difference is blank. The difference is 1, but being able to do that and then having the steps down below so kids have a strong criteria for success below. Step 1, measure each line. Step 2, how much longer or shorter. That is your game introduction today. But within both of those pretty big steps is measuring each line, so being able to identify each individual measurement, find the total, each individual measurement, find the total. And having them labeled line A and line B is going to help, because then kids will be able to access line A, line B within their comparative language down below. This, I think, is probably going to be the biggest misconception. How can we figure out how much longer line B is than line A? So first we need to get them to be able to say which is longer or which is shorter. That's going to be an important key point, where if kids can't actually say that, then you know that there's a pretty major gap in their understanding. And then being able to say to them, if you know that line B is longer than line A, how can we identify the difference? So you will have kids that say we can count up, we can subtract. You might even have kids that create a one-to-one model and say it's 3 blank bigger. And so giving them the mathematical space to say there are many different ways I can solve this. There really is only one way we can solve this first part. It's measure and add, or measure and put together. So then duplicating this one more time, whole group. This really, this does not need to be 15 minutes. This should take you about 8. Quickly measuring, you've done this the day before, so this doesn't need to be huge, but if you created gaps the day before, you will need to spend some time there. As you're circulating around, I think that this is actually a pretty strong tool to use. I think it's actually probably stronger than my conferencing notes tool. So being able to say, and I would build in some type of list for kids, who's got it versus who doesn't. Can they measure with the standard ruler? Great. Yes. No, is actually what I would do. So Jadiel can, James can't. And then I actually like to put a checkbox next to it when I get James back into the yes bucket. One-to-one model subtraction, these are all tools for actually getting there. So I would change this to be, can they identify the length of the object? Can they identify which length is greater? And then can they identify the, how much greater or how much lesser? You are adults, and this is not a gap that you will have, but I really want to stamp. It's because I think I did so in a little bit of the work I did on that visual inker. When I measure it, lining up at 0, identifying the closest point, and I put the number there. This is something that you have to explicitly model, and model big and beautifully on your visual inker, or they're not going to do it. 4. And then again, you saw me put these check boxes last time. So I'm literally gonna write 3 plus 3 plus 4. And I know that I've gotten all of them equals 10, total length 10 centimeters. I don't know if I'd put the letters CM on each of these. If you want to, go for it. I don't think it'll mess up anything, and it might just reinfuse it. And duplicating the same thing down here, and being able to say first, which is larger, which is lesser. Sorry, which is large, which is greater, which is smaller. And then identifying which is greater, which is smaller. There's not a lot of space for a tape diagram to do comparative lengths on here. I might put these, I like them up on top of each other, but like you're gonna run out of space. Be thoughtful about this. If you don't build in the space for them to talk, their writing will not match your expectations.